What's going on, guys? My name is Dexterity. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day. Today, we're going to be ranking every Call of Duty that has been made, excluding, Call of Duty Mobile and Call of Duty Online, the Chinese Call of Duty. We'll be ranking all of them from God tier to trash. I have played every single Call of Duty. There are some that I played more than others, and there are some that I played less than others. There are some that I hate, and there are some that I like. This is all opinion based, so if you guys have any, opinions on what you would do with the list, definitely go down to the comment section below and leave a comment telling me what you would have changed, and I will definitely leave the link to this list in the description below. I did change around some of the text, but I will save this and I will put the link to it in the description so you guys can go and fill this out yourself, or if you're using it for your own video, then feel free to go and use it as well. If you guys are new here, definitely subscribe to the channel and leave a like if you do enjoy this video, and turn on notifications for more videos like this. And we're just gonna get straight into it. I don't plan to keep this video that long. It's not gonna be one of those types of videos where I stretch 10 minutes, but if it gets to 10 minutes, then that's pretty nice. Alright, so first we have Call of Duty, the very first one. Now, I didn't play this one much. I've only played it like once or twice. It's definitely good, but for its time, it was really good. But compared to now, the graphics were horrible. Storyline was basic, but for a start, it was really good. So I'm going to throw that at 3, kind of in the middle, because I don't really know where to put it. And obviously, towards the end, we're probably going to redo this list. I also have every Call of Duty in order. You have Call of Duty 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the remastered. World at War, Modern Warfare 2, then Black Ops, then Modern Warfare 3, then Black Ops 2, then Ghost, Advanced Warfare, BO3, Infinite Warfare, World War 2, Black Ops 4, Modern Warfare, and then Modern Warfare 2 Campaign Remastered. So they're all in order, and that's the order that we're going to go into. Call of Duty 2, now, I thought that Call of Duty 3 was my first Call of Duty. That's what I remember, but my dad claims that Call of Duty 2 was my first Call of Duty. I don't remember much of this one either, so we're probably going to throw that at number 3 as well. And then Call of Duty 3, this is my all-time favorite Call of Duty. I'm putting it at God tier. Actually, even though this is opinion-based, I'm going to put it at 1. I wouldn't say God tier because there were still some issues with the game, unbalancing issues. If you had a tank, you would go off. Most of the maps were one-sided, and running was weird. And you also had to wait like 10 seconds for you to like respawn or something like that. Which was also annoying for multiplayer. And the campaign was pretty solid. Not my favorite campaign, but it was definitely good for its time. Call of Duty 4. This thing, like, and I don't want to take this one-sided to where all the normal Call of Duties, like the older Call of Duties, at the top. I don't want to sort it like that. But Call of Duty 4, there are a lot of hatred towards the maps on this game. The guns were pretty good. This is where the M4 first came into play for Call of Duty. I'm probably going to throw this at a solid, probably 1. And I think I'm going to move 3 to 2. I think that's a little bit better. And then remastered, I would say they did the remastered really good. It was probably the most perfect remastered I've ever seen. I'm not going to put it at the same level as the original game, but I'll put it in 2. Because it obviously wasn't as great as Call of Duty 4, but it was still really good, considering it's still not the original, but it was practically the same. World at War, this Call of Duty, so they started off in the World War II setting, and then they branched off into the modern era, which a lot of people liked, and then Treyarch ended up thinking that with the new engine that they were switching to at the time, they wanted to switch back to the World War II setting, because they thought that it was working well. It had mixed reviews. I thought it was pretty good. It was probably one of the most gory Call of Duties that we have ever seen. I'm going to throw that at a solid 3, because I feel like the story could have been a little bit better. It wasn't the type of story where like I actually cared for the characters. So we're going to do that. And I'm actually going to move, because these are just old and not too many people care for them, I'm going to throw that at 4. Except for Call of Duty 2, that was solid. Modern Warfare 2. Now, this had probably one of my most favorite stories ever. This kind of like started it. Obviously, Call of Duty 4 was the first Modern Warfare, but like when it comes to the story with Makarov and the Russians and all that stuff, that's when that came into play. And General Shepard came into play and stuff. So technically, this is like a whole new story from Call of Duty 4, even though it's technically a continuation. it's still kind of like branched off into a new storyline, but with the same characters. Now this with Shepard and all that stuff, killing Ghost obviously had one of the most saddest character deaths. Makarov betrayed you had one of the most controversial missions probably in Call of Duty history. No Russian. We're definitely gonna throw this at 1. I think a lot of people could agree. Actually, no. I think God tier. A lot of people could agree because the multiplayer was phenomenal. Great kill streaks. The nuke came into play for the very first time, which everyone loved, and the weapons were just memorable with the ACR, the M4, the intervention, all that stuff. And then we are on to Black Ops, the very first one. This one had a whole new story, and it was in Vietnam, mind you. And I love that setting in Vietnam, and I really want them to go back to it, even though Call of Duty 2020 is supposed to be in the Cold War. I still really like Vietnam. With Woods and Mason, it was, for me being a kid at the time playing it, it was a very confusing story mode, especially with all the numbers of what do they mean. And I still just until like maybe a year ago, I finally found out what the story was and kind of what it meant. I still want to go back and watch like a timeline video to kind of make sure I get everything. But basically, obviously, you know, Mason was brainwashed and everything. And the numbers, I think they were either like, I think they were like a launch code or something like that. I don't know. This was a very good COD. Not many people cared for the multiplayer. And multiplayer is the main aspect, but zombies on here was amazing, which is why I'm going to throw this at 2. And then Modern Warfare 3, it was basically just a clone of Modern Warfare 2, continuation of the story. Soap died in this one. Yuri technically betrayed, or not betrayed. He was with Makarov in the beginning, but ended up switching over with Captain Price, and Captain Price thought that Yuri basically got Soap killed. Not exactly like that, but in that same area. I don't know what I'm talking about, honestly. I'm just rambling on. Modern Warfare 3, it was alright. It wasn't the best. They did introduce survival mode into Spec Ops, which was amazing. I definitely preferred the normal Spec Ops, and I definitely prefer zombies over Spec Ops. I'm going to throw Modern Warfare 3 at 3. I feel like it could have been done better, and they could have spent more time into it, because it was basically the same as Modern Warfare 2, just like a reskin. Black Ops 2. This is an easy one, God tier. I didn't really care for this one much at the start, but everyone absolutely loved Black Ops 2. It's easily the fan favorite. Like, if you were to go to anyone and ask them what their favorite Call of Duty was, I guarantee they're going to say either Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 2. Probably mostly Black Ops 2. But, I mean, Black Ops 2 was a pretty solid Call of Duty. Multiplayer wasn't too unbalanced. There were a lot of fun weapons, the MSMC, the MTAR, and all that stuff. I really liked it. The MP7. MP7 was my favorite gun, by the way. I was around, like, how old was I? Was I like 8 or 9? I don't know. I'm not gonna bother doing the math. So yeah, we're gonna throw that at God tier. And then Call of Duty Ghost. This one was very controversial. Me personally, I liked it. A lot of people didn't. The ending of the campaign made absolutely no sense. Because, I mean, Rourke was trapped underwater. He got shot underwater. He was so far down underwater, stuck in a train, and he still ended up living. How did he not drown? How did he not die from the gunshot? And how the hell did he get behind the two brothers when they were sitting on the shore? How did he get behind them? I feel like they were definitely setting up for a sequel, and me personally, I would love to see a sequel, because even though that was kind of a bullshit ending, I would like to see how it continued off. But I don't think it's going to happen, and if it does eventually happen, which I would like it, a lot of people aren't going to be too thrilled. Like I said, it was a very controversial Call of Duty. This was one of my, not my favorite, but I did really like it. I went to the midnight release for this one. I pre-ordered it. I got the most expensive edition, which I still have. I still have the camera that I got with the most expensive edition. It came with like a tactical camera. It was kind of like a GoPro, but not exactly. It was kind of shitty. It recorded at 1080p HD. Did it record at 60 FPS? I don't know, but it did have 1080p and 720p options. It came with a micro SD card and all this stuff. And actually, in a few videos that I did in the past when I didn't have this face cam, I used this as my face cam. I actually, with the mounting thing for that you would normally mount it on bikes, because you could like stick this to your helmet and all that stuff, I actually set this on the monitor and use this as my face cam. I recorded the face cam footage, and I would just plug it into my PC, get the footage, and match it up with the audio, and that used to be my face cam. It wasn't the best, but it was alright. We're getting sidetracked. It wasn't that bad of a Call of Duty, which is why I'm going to throw it at 4. Mainly due to the fact that a lot of people did hate it. It has Stonehaven, literally the worst map in Call of Duty history, and we're going to throw that at number 4. Advanced Warfare. Where do we put this one? The exo jumps were ridiculous. This is when they really took it to a whole level. This is the first Call of Duty that they actually had advanced movement, and this is where they first introduced supply drops. The supply drop system in this game wasn't as bullshit as Black Ops 3, and it was actually a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with my sister, my brother-in-law, and all them. We used to play this a lot. We are going to throw this at 2. It was a good Call of Duty. You can't get me wrong. It was a good Call of Duty. And we're obviously going to rearrange this after we're done. And yeah, I'm just going to throw that there real quick. Black Ops 3, I'm probably going to do the same thing for now, because Black Ops 3 still had this same. I'm actually going to throw that at number 3 just because of the supply drop system. It was kind of shit. And then Infinite Warfare, that's easy. No one liked it. I didn't like it. Worst Call of Duty that was ever made. I hated it. The exosuits were very stale and worn out at the time. People begged for them not to use it, but they still did it anyways. The whole campaign took place in space, but not the whole campaign, but most of it took place in space. Now, obviously, the space battles were pretty cool, but like you should have made this game instead of Advanced Warfare, basically. If you would have just did Infinite Warfare instead of Advanced Warfare, people probably would have liked it, because the very first time that Advanced Movement came into Call of Duty, and including space battles and all that, people probably would have liked it at the time. But because Advanced Movement was so worn out, people hated this game. And they added in the supply drop system again, which was horrible. And yeah, that's why I'm throwing it there. Call of Duty World War II. This is the first Call of Duty in like 3 Call of Duties that we got the actual boots on the ground movement. Everyone was so hyped for this game because it went back to its roots in World War II. Last time we had a World War II Call of Duty was Call of Duty 3, I believe. That was the last Call of Duty that we had in World War II. And this one was really good. They did have a supply drop system. It wasn't as bullshit. It was actually kind of fun trying to work for them. They had a really good contract system. The quartermaster was pretty cool because you could go in there and buy stuff. They obviously did have the COD points and stuff, which was repetitive because, you know, microtransactions, no one likes them. But then again, that's just the world that we live in nowadays. We have to deal with it with up-to-date games. They obviously brought back the old school guns like the STG and the MP40 and all the old stuff. So this one, the campaign was amazing. Best campaign that I've seen in a long time. Even though the Infinite Warfare campaign was alright, the World War II campaign was awesome. It really made me feel for the characters. And even my favorite character, Zussman, I grew to love him even like starting from the beginning. Zussman was my favorite character, and then, spoiler alert, he ends up getting captured and taken to a concentration camp and shit. And at the end, like, he's like going for like the whole ending of the campaign, and you finally save him and stuff. And it was such a great story. I'm putting this at 2. Black Ops 4, trash. The Black Ops series is worn out at that point. The time to kill, they upped it to 200 health. It was way too slow. Specialists were worn out as well. They didn't even come up with new specialists. Even though this was technically a prequel and it wasn't as futuristic and it didn't have exo jumps, they still couldn't come up with new operators. Like they did come up with a few new ones, but they still kept some of the old ones. Like, just get us a new experience, you know? Like, it's literally a prequel, for God's sake. Like, just come up with new characters. They also had supply drops in this one, which I didn't like either. The guns in here were alright. They were really favored with like the ICR and the Maddox and all that stuff. This was the first time that Treyarch actually stepped away from the campaign. The first Call of Duty that didn't have a campaign whatsoever, which was new for everyone because they swapped it out with Blackout, which I'll get to in a second. The campaign, I kind of wish it was in there, and some may say that, you know, they had the specialist headquarters, but that doesn't count. That's not a campaign. I don't consider it, at least, because you learn how to use a specialist, and then they throw you into a private match. Like, that is not a campaign. So we're gonna throw that at trash. Blackout, it was fun, but that one got repetitive and annoying really fast. Modern Warfare, that's an easy one. Great reboot. They did everything really well with this game. The map design was a little questionable, but they did really well with this game. There are some bug fixes that they could have fixed, but you know, they're still working on that. Season 4 will be coming out soon. They are actually doing seasons this time with the battle pass and everything, which is keeping fresh content in the game, and they're still updating the game every week. So it's keeping fresh content and playlist updates in the game, which is making it way more playable. And this is the first Call of Duty where, because normally with Call of Duties, I would get the game, I would go to midnight release, I would be so excited, I would play for a month straight, I would stop for a few months, then I would come back and revisit the game, and then it would just kind of get boring. This one, I have like almost 5 days of playtime in, and it is probably one of the best Call of Duties I've seen in a long time. Very fun. The Spec Ops was meh. The Spec Ops really started off being very difficult. I'm not even sure if they toned the difficulty on that down a little bit, but I probably will try it soon. And then they introduced Warzone, which was probably the best Call of Duty Battle Royale that they've released. It's really competing with Fortnite, which is great. And they're constantly updating that along with multiplayer as well. And Warzone is still, it has a huge fan base, over like 10 million players, I think. Or no, it was like over 60 million players, actually. I don't know why I completely mixed up the numbers, but there's still a large player base on Warzone, and I kind of stopped playing Warzone for a while, but I'm back to playing it, and it is a lot of fun. Campaign, really, really good campaign. Captain Price was in it. It was a fresh, new storyline, but with some old characters. It was amazing. I loved it. And I love how it's still, the campaign story mode is like still carrying on. It carried on from campaign, it carried on into Spec Ops, and then it carried on into multiplayer with Alex being alive and everything. It's a great campaign. So that's definitely, I'm actually going to throw that at God tier. I do think that this is one of the best Call of Duties we've had in a really long time. The campaign remastered. A lot of people wanted multiplayer remastered, and that's why I'm throwing it at 4. It was still, obviously, it's literally the same thing as Modern Warfare 2. Campaign, but it was just better graphics. There were a few slight changes with it that really didn't need to be made. That's kind of like a whole thing that I would make on a whole nother video, but I feel like it's already too late to make that video. If you guys still want to see that video on the changes that they made in that, then leave a like, because I'm a few months late to making that video, so I don't think it's, you know, that warranted at the moment. We're gonna throw that at 4. So this is the list. We're gonna probably make a few changes. The God tier, we have Modern Warfare 2, and then Black Ops 2. I'm thinking we throw World War 2. Well, no, we'll keep World War 2 here. We'll boost up Black Ops 3. We will boost up the normal Black Ops. And then we'll boost up that Call of Duty. Goes just for the sake of the community. We'll put that at trash, even though it's not that bad of a Call of Duty. And then I'm thinking Advanced Warfare, because the replayability. No, Black Ops 3, because the replayability will throw up there. Because they did also have zombies, and they did also have that free roam mode, and then they even had basically the campaign, but replaced with zombies instead of AI. That was really cool. I think that was like Nightmare mode or something. They still kept Dead Ops Arcade as well, and the zombies was actually very replayable. So yeah, there's my list. Some may agree with it, some may not. Let me know in the comments below what you would change, and a link will be to this list in the description below, so you can go and mess with this yourself, and even literally just leave in the comments below, from just sort it out, God tier 1, 2, 3, 4, and trash, and then tell me which you would put in each category. If that's too much for you, then don't. Just say what you would change. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like to the channel, to the video. I'm retarded. Subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications to be notified every time I upload another video like this one. And I'll see you guys in the next video.